Raids just don't work in Warframe. Don't believe me? Let's check it out.
I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor, here to spread the cheer. Join me on this adventure, where gaming wipes away the tears.
Raids just don't work by Pablo, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Let's go. Welcome and good morning, scholars. I just woke up. Yes, I'm pretty sure I still got bedhead and everything, but I wanted to record a video for this fine Saturday for you. Have you ever, just spontaneously did something at home and you didn't expect to be up to like 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, that's kind of what happened to me. I've got all over this table and all over my living room and even my gaming desk. I've got Magic the Gathering cards spewing everywhere. I've been working on multiple commander decks. I was up to 3 o'clock working on Magic the Gathering. I don't know what came over me, but here we are. I have to be delicate because I got my piles of, that's the vampire deck. That's the 5-color dragon deck. This is the mill commander deck. This is the blue nope deck. I've got a lot of stuff going on. Anyways, welcome to the counselor's office. Today we're talking about, as you guessed it, Warframe. And we're going to be talking about raids. Now, I have to say that right off the rip, I was not around when raids were around. And I did make sure to watch a video to understand what raids looked like. And I'm just going to give my impression of what I watched. It looked like a combination of Warframe missions back to back to back to back, and maybe with the difficulty cranked up. Correct me if I'm wrong. Again, never experienced it, just watched a clip of it. But we have Pablo. Oh my God, I almost said Pablo. No. Pablo, who is just an amazing design director for digital extremes in Warframe. And this guy is very vocal and very willing to have a conversation with his community. Oh my God, I wish Bungie and Destiny were the same way. Got asked on the dev short why I don't think raids work on Warframe. So, sharing my thoughts. TDR, I don't believe you can have good raids without challenge, and you can't have challenge without balance changes. I apologize. I don't have a cool accent like Pablo. Even though I am Hispanic, I don't have the accent. I don't have the sauce. No sauce. Pablo is the sauce master in more ways than one. He's got the gun sauce, right? He's got the design sauce. So just off of that, right off the quick, as someone who's played Destiny and has, 13K hours in that game and just played Destiny 1 as well, I've done the whole package. Destiny has raids. And one of the biggest problems with Destiny is balance. People want power fantasy, and then they also want challenge. And raids cannot be a challenge if the power fantasy is winning. Now, I still think raids can be fun and enjoyable. Don't get me wrong. I think raids, a good raid, it doesn't matter how strong you are, can still be a good time. But it does change the view on it. Is this a raid like a strike or like a casual mission? Or is this thing like the hardest thing? And you're like, man, this is really pushing me and my team to critically think and, strategize. And man, I don't know if we can beat this thing. That's kind of where most people want to be when they think of raids. They want that challenge. They want something that beats the crap out of them. In that regard, people that like that intensity are kind of masochist. I mean, let's be honest. That's the reason why also some people play Dark Souls, is that yes, Dark Souls beats the crap out of you, but then eventually you master it and you make it, you literally dog walk Dark Souls and literally never take a hit. That's the kind of mastery that people enjoy. They're like, this is supposed to be hard. Child's play, right? Well, Warframe is definitely all about power fantasy. And I can absolutely see where that would conflict with design choice. And for a lot of reasons, that's why Conclave was put to the side, is because they would have to balance and nerf things. And instead of doing that, they've decided to go the other way. See, Bungie attempts to balance Destiny. Attempts. I say attempts. I know people are like, wait, they balance things? What Bungie are we talking about? They do attempt to balance things, and they often hardcore nerf things as well, right? But Digital Extremes has gone the other way, but they're like, we're not even going to try. We'll nerf things that are way out of band. But normally they let people enjoy this, like nuking an entire room. That's prototypical of Warframe. So let's continue on what Pablo has to say. Bit of history first. Back when trials were removed, the weekly players doing them were pretty close to conclave numbers. But trials took 100 times the work to make and maintain. And I think that's something else about Destiny. And people hate to hear it, but only in Destiny, only like what 10% of the community of the population actually played this hardcore in-game activity that the developers spent a lot of time and money and effort to crafting, and only 10%. Think of how much all that resources going to something that barely anyone plays. That is something you have to give. I have to give praise to Bungie for, is that they could have done what Digital Extreme said. Hey, you know, asset wise, this is just not worth it, and we're just going to take it away. But you know, Bungie kept that hardcore end game and has attempted. You know, they did a bad job, you could say that, but at least there was attempts to balance or maintain that end game, right? They may not be perfect. They may not do a great job at it, if at all, but at least attempts were made. And that's something you have to give credit to Bungie for. Again, I'm a fair guy. I'm all about giving credit where credit's due. In this regard, Digital Extreme says it's not worth the money. And we also, that's another thing. We don't know the difference between conclave numbers and Warframe versus people. 10% in Destiny could be substantially larger, and that we don't have actual numbers. This is all we're theory crafting, right? Theory crafting. I would say that there probably is more people playing raids than there were raids and, you know, people playing in Warframe. I think that's probably fair. Pablo continues, you could try to Morbius me and say, oh, we were all busy last time trials were around, but this time we will play them, but I'm doubtful. That is funny. I love that I love that reference, because Sony got baited by Morbius. Everyone kept on saying it's Morbing time, and then they re-released the Morbius only to get lackluster views. Like, I don't know if they lost money re-pushing it out, but they got baited so hard. It's funny. It's funny. But I think it's very fair. It's like, hey, let's not get baited by the few dudes who did play it, thinking that it's a wider audience when it's not. Pablo continues, I used to raid on WoW, farm materials, nonstop for Flask and Enchants, study the strats, and then you and the 39 people bash their heads on the same boss over and over 4 hours straight. It was great, but I don't think the wider Warframe community is interested in that, though. I think but sometimes as a developer, you've got to have insight into your community. And I say sometimes, you should have it all the time. Being mindful about who is your consumer. Remember, they are still a business, right? They still want people to invest in the game. Even though it's 100% free to play game, you still want people to come back and invest in the nice shinies that you crank out, the skins, because everyone knows Fashion Frame is the real end game. So I get it. I understand. And it's very smart to be self-aware of your actual community and where they're at. And I think I would agree. I would say there's more people who enjoy the power fantasy of Warframe than they do challenge. Don't get me wrong. I always play on Still Path just to give it a bump in difficulty, right? I play on Still Path. I just never turn off Still Path at this point. Just so it has a little bit more bump of difficulty. But at the same time, I think to really hammer home challenge outside of just mechanics, if you're talking about enemies, you would have to substantially nerf the Warframes, because you can essentially make your Warframe gods. You can make them they are the superheroes, they are the main characters, they are the gods of the universe, and people love and adore that power fantasy. People just crave it, because you don't get that in a lot of games but this one you definitely do, and it's very noticeable. I don't know. It's a hard thing, and it seems like Pablo said, yeah, we're not going to take that away from our main slice of the pie. Our current hard bosses are meant to be optional challenges for those who want to push it. We kept the rewards cosmetics so you never felt like you had to do them. And even so, I guess he meant to say he still sees requests to nerf them. So I really don't think our community is thirsty for hard stuff. And that's a good, no, that's not a good thing. That's a good thing that he's willing to see that and say, hey, it's not in the cards. Our majority of our community is against it. We're not going to go after, let's say something out loud for Pablo that he's not going to say. He's not going to change the game for streamers, content creators, for the 1%ers. This is a good thing. Do not change your game for the bottom barrel of your community. Just don't. It is a bad choice. We've seen Destiny do it. And now you see what's happening. Destiny has fallen out of irrelevance, and Warframe's still going strong. Props to them. And I think it's funny that we have this comparison since they both came out about the same time, except Destiny 2 is the second version of it, whereas Digital Extremes only has one Warframe, and they have a second IP that they're working on and not at all taking any resources from. So it's like, this is how you do a good studio, and this is how you do a bad studio. Pablo continues, in a game with lots of ways to hit cap damage and immortality, true challenge is just not possible. If as a community we want challenge, then we need to emphasize balance. And I think we all know that is just not what most Warframe players want. And I would agree. Most players do not want. So if challenge isn't possible, what is? Oh, we could do puzzle-based things like we have done for some bosses and in old trials, but puzzles get boring after you do them a couple of times. They don't have the same depth that our combat does. So that brings us back to Morbius. And I think that's true. Like even in Destiny, once you master the mechanics, and just like Dark Souls, once you understand the boss's moveset, once you know it's predictable, you can essentially play the game and never get hit. Like once you master it, you can be a 0-hit wonder, completely naked in Dark Souls. You're beating bosses with a stick. That is exactly what happens. And I don't think this is just like a Warframe or a Destiny. I think this is just the problem of video games in general. The more that your community is digging its teeth into your product, the easier it is to master. And so you have to make a call. Do I want this to be for the hardcore, or do I want to make a game that is just at this level, and we're going to focus on this level? Sure, we're going to have people that are way above that are just going to kick ass, and then we're going to have people that are never going to be able to do a lot of content in our game. Who do we want to focus on? In the middle is probably the best. You have the power fantasy where most people can do content, if not all the content. They just won't get that challenge, but they also, they're not at the bottom. I think being in the middle here is the best approach for Digital Extreme. Do you get the highs from completing it? That me? I'm assuming he meant it. I'm not actually for certain what he meant there. Do you get the highs from completing it, or is that me? And my raid got from defeating Nefarion after trying over and over for months. No, but that sort of high requires a lot of lows, and I just think that is a different game, not Warframe. Yeah, I mean, you can't compare this. It's apples to oranges. Even Destiny, like you can look at Destiny, they're both looter shooters, but they still provide different experiences. They do have a lot in common, and yes, you can still compare them because they're live service games, looter shooters, but they give two different kind of experiences, which is a good thing. If they were just copies of each other, well, people wouldn't be coming, it wouldn't be as enjoyable, in my opinion. Warframe shines in a variety of power, fantasy, and I think these pillars are just not compatible with grueling challenge. And a raid without challenge is just a mission with more people. Thank you for reading my rants. 10 out of 10. Yep. I would agree. I would rather than put more resources. They make some great content, great missions. They do make things challenging. Like, what was it? I forgot what the missions are. because I've not engaged with them that much myself. There's already missions in the game that people hate, that they're challenging or they're just not fun. Like, it does the balancing for them, and people don't enjoy them, right? Like, there's already missions like that in the game, and people have asked for that to be nerfed over and over and over and over again. I just don't see them investing in content in a wider scale like raids, because, and here's the thing, they, just like Destiny, every time they release a new Warframe, they would have to balance it around raids and raids around those Warframes, right? And that changes the design philosophy. It's easier to say, our game is about power fantasy, let's just make it go burr. And when you do, you get some crazy situations where you get some really fun Warframes and buffs that really are fun. They're enjoyable. And I think that's the thing about Warframe. Warframe is an experience where you play to have fun. You have a good time farming loot. You build this juicer Warframe. There's so many to choose from. Like, you can literally taste whatever flavor you want, and you can go ham. You can go in, and sure, there's some Warframes that are definitely better than others, but in most cases, you can take whatever Warframe you want and just beat the crap out of the game and have a good time. Chill with the community, farm up, your ranking, try to, 100% everything. It's a game that has a lot of choices, and you can play at your own pace. That's the thing I like about Warframe. I took about a year and a half off of the game because I was very heavily invested in Destiny, especially toward the end of its life. Destiny 2, should I say. And here we are. I'm still grinding and playing and catching up, but I'm not stressed about it because I know that that's just more content for me to play. And I'm being behind is not a bad thing. Like, you're not handicapped. You're not like in Destiny. If you were behind and you didn't have like the newest exotics or the newest guns, you were at a disadvantage because people were expecting you to have that to do raids. Whereas Warframe, you can use essentially anything you want and you're not going to be held back. Right? Like, we can agree that Warframe does it better in the fact that the new player experience is just build your gun fairly well and you can do most things in the game. And that's great. You can play with your favorite gun. You can play with your favorite Warframe. And then at the end, it's about looking good, baby. Fashion frame. You start chasing, you could start trading and selling plat to get platinum, to then buy cosmetics and colors and all that stuff. Like, you invest into the game if you want, or you could just play 100% free and invest your time instead. At some point, you are investing something. Either it's your time or money or both. And that's the glorious thing about Warframe, is that there's always something to do. And if there's not, just take a break, come back. It's simple as that. So we got Gaz TV responding to this. I read this as, they won't let you have the time you need to properly design something that would be challenging, or do so would cause the nerf apocalypse. And Pablo responded, there is no they. Rebecca and I decided these types of things, and bearing an incredible idea, I just don't think raids would be fun to do over and over without a challenge. Gaz responded, thanks for the reply. I've done ETA, EDA. Those are the missions I was talking about that are the hard challenges that people want nerfed and hate. Like, a very small population actually experience them. Every week it has spawned and it still feels fresh. My incredible ideas to make the raid have rotating weekly parts, just like EDA, ETA, but instead of random curated, it's modifiers, but asking for nerf crowd would still hate. And I think that's something you have to say. I think Gaz is the minority. That's the reality. When again, we're talking about content creators. I think Digital Extremes is taking the cautious approach of not catering the game to the 1%ers and the content creators. That is the worst thing you could do to your game, is to cater to content creators. Don't do it. Just don't. The team, it sounds like Pablo and Rebecca are working hand in hand, and that's great. We've got Red Dog, I'm assuming. I kind of joke about Pablo's reaction to raids, but he makes good points here. And I just watched another video talking about how few D2 players ever completed a raid. One, the majority of the players base never completed one raid, so it is a good investment of DE's time? Probably not. I was a D2 player who never completed a raid because I didn't have a coordinated group I was playing with. I get it. And that's another thing. You have to consider the ecosystem of your community. Right now, the community is fairly chill and, respectful and, pretty cool. But if you introduce a raid, will it introduce more toxicity to the game? Will the mode cause more friction in your community? Because raids 100% do that in Destiny. 100% raids do that in Destiny. And even PvP does that in Destiny too, especially when you nerf things for PvP, which is why Digital Extremes has pretty much cut PvP in Warframe, in Conclave. They're like, yeah, we know where this is going and it's not worth our investment. I'm glad they did. I don't think that Warframe would ever be like Destiny. I think PvP matters. In Destiny, it definitely, like, I remember Destiny 1 and how fun it was and just that system as it is. And it's more balanced. Like the power fantasy in Destiny 1 was very low to the floor, but it still had its moments where you felt really good. But it was about the gunplay. Whereas Warframe is not always about, it's about 80-50, or no, 80-50, 80-20. 20% about the guns and the blades and the weapons and all that, versus 80% is your abilities. Like, people build Warframes to just do crazy combos. Like when you have Saren who's just nuking an entire room with poison and you don't even have to shoot a gun. Yeah, I would say Warframe's about 80% abilities versus 20% gunplay. Yeah, there's a bunch of little comments, but I'm going to just kind of cap off this video with my own thoughts. I think we've kind of hit most of the big button issues that this would change the game. It would cause, I think, friction in the community. I do think it would take more time and resources from Digital Extremes. And instead of working on their bread and butter, which is stories, they make cool, fun stories, which honestly, here's the reality. If you notice the past couple stories, you've been forced to have to play characters that are 100% watered down. Like, that's the thing that people need to realize, is that they've not been really allowed to play their Warframe. They've been forced to play preset kits for these stories because that's how they're getting around the power creep, how they're getting around the fact that, man, everyone's really strong. Is now we're going to play a story, and you're now, instead of being able to have your own Spartan in Halo, you're just going to play as Master Chief with this preset, right? You're just Master Chief. That's it. And then afterward, we open up to, now you can be whatever Spartan you want to be, right? After that, you go back to being, killing machine. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. I think for story, no one really cares because they're there for the story. But as for the rest of the game, you should be able to cater to your audience in the regard of letting them live their best life, which is murderous killing machines, be immortal gods, which is kind of what Warframes are. Warframes are immortal gods. They are the outlier of the universe. This is one of those few games where you think that, man, in game they're so goddamn strong, but even in their story mode and the lore, we haven't even gotten to the insane parts of what Warframe can do, like Atlas destroying a meteor, or like stuff like that. Like, you don't actually see that in game, so it can even get crazier than what people see in game. And it'd be interesting to see like a power fantasy to the 9 in Warframe, like just even if it was like a quick time event or like a moment in a mission where you went to these absurd levels of insanity. Like, show us what Warframes can really do. Destroy a freaking planet or something. Like, that would be insane. But I think that would also kind of mess with the actual story, not the background lore. But as it is, I think Raid's not coming back, even though I would have loved to experience it. I think ultimately it's a good idea for them not to bring it back, because they would have to kill the game. They would have to cause the nerf apocalypse, and that would be bad for everyone, even people like me who've been playing several years. I mean, I've not been around since all the way back then, but I've been enjoying Warframe and consuming all the story that comes out, and it would be a shame to see it get the Destiny treatment where it essentially cannibalizes itself, and then you cause it to where the community turns against you. I don't want to see that happen in digital streams, and they don't want to see that happen, which is why they made the smart choice not to do it. I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor. Let me know what you think. And if you did play raids, explain your experience. Let me know all about it down below. As always, I'll see you guys in the next video. Game out. Huzzah!